The evening started like any other. I returned home from a long day at the office, eager to unwind in the comfort of our cozy suburban house. Jenna, my wife of 8 years, was supposed to be out with friends, so I expected an empty house. As I stepped through the front door, a sense of unease settled over me, an inexplicable feeling that something was amiss. I shrugged it off, attributing it to the stress of the week. With a sigh, I dropped my briefcase by the door and made my way upstairs to our bedroom. The soft glow of the bedside lamp greeted me as I pushed open the door. What caught my eye next was something entirely unexpected. A small, inconspicuous camera mounted discreetly on the bookshelf, facing our bed. My heart pounded in my chest as I approached, a cold dread washing over me. My fingers trembled as I reached out and pressed play on the small screen that was displaying footage. The image flickered to life, revealing a scene that shattered my world. There, on our marital bed, Jenna entwined with another man, Mark, our neighbor and supposed friend. The realization hit me like a freight train. Anguish and disbelief surged through my veins in equal measure as I watched them, oblivious to the hidden camera capturing their intimacy, their betrayal. My breath caught in my throat as I watched Jenna, the woman I had loved, cherished, and built a life with, smiling, laughing, in the arms of another man. Their whispered conversations, stolen kisses, and shared moments mocked the vows we had exchanged. I stood there, transfixed by the screen, unable to tear my gaze away from the unfolding betrayal. Every word, every touch felt like a dagger plunging into my heart. How long had this been going on? How could she do this to us? The seconds stretched into minutes as I replayed the scene over and over, hoping against hope that it was a terrible mistake, a nightmare I would wake up from. But the truth stared back at me unrelentingly. Jenna was cheating on me with Mark, and they had been doing it behind my back, in our own home. A surge of rage, unlike anything I had ever known, began to build within me. Anguish gave way to fury, and with it came a chilling clarity. They had shattered our trust, our love, and now they would pay the price. I stumbled back from the screen, my mind racing with plans of vengeance. This betrayal would not go unpunished. As the video looped silently on the screen, I knew that my life would never be the same again. I stood in our bedroom, the weight of betrayal crushing me. The video of Jenna and Mark replayed in my mind, each frame etched with painful clarity. Anger burned hot beneath the surface, but alongside it, a deep sorrow threatened to consume me. How could Jenna, the woman I had loved and trusted, do this to us? Without hesitation, I stormed downstairs, the video still playing on repeat in my head. Jenna was in the kitchen, setting the table as if nothing had happened. Her back was turned to me, her movements serene and oblivious to the storm raging inside me. "Jenna," I said, my voice tight with emotion. She turned, a smile tugging at her lips, but it faltered when she saw the look on my face. "Hey, honey, you're home early," she said, her voice tinged with nervousness. I held up the camera, my hand trembling with anger. "What the hell is this, Jenna?" I demanded, my words sharp and accusing. Her eyes widened in shock as she registered what I held in my hand. I can explain," she stammered, her voice wavering. "You can explain?" I scoffed bitterly. "Explain how you've been sleeping with Mark behind my back?" Jenna paled, her hands shaking as she tried to find words that would somehow justify her actions. "It's not what you think," she began, her voice pleading. "It's complicated." "Complicated?" I spat, incredulous. "There's no complexity in cheating, Jenna. You lied to me. You betrayed me." Tears welled in her eyes as she took a step towards me, her hands reaching out as if to comfort me. "Please, let's talk about this. I'm sorry," she pleaded, her voice thick with emotion. "Sorry?" I snapped, stepping back to avoid her touch. "You're sorry you got caught, Jenna. You're sorry you've been lying to me all this time." Silence hung heavy between us as the weight of her betrayal settled in the room. Jenna's shoulders slumped, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I never meant to hurt you," she whispered, her voice barely audible. I shook my head, the pain in my chest intensifying. "You've shattered everything, Jenna," I said quietly, the words heavy with resignation. "Our trust, our love, it's all gone." She collapsed into a chair, burying her face in her hands. "Please don't leave me," she sobbed, her voice muffled. I stood there torn between anger and heartache. The sight of Jenna in distress, once a source of my protection and comfort, now only fueled the fire of betrayal within me. "I need some time," I finally managed to say, my voice strained with emotion. "I can't do this right now." Jenna looked up, desperation in her eyes. "Please don't shut me out," she pleaded, reaching out to me again. I turned away, unable to bear the sight of her anguish. "I need to think," I said, my voice hollow. "I need to figure out what comes next." Leaving Jenna sitting there, broken and weeping, I retreated upstairs to the bedroom. The video still played in my mind, each scene a painful reminder of what had been lost. Anger pulsed through me like a relentless drumbeat, drowning out the echoes of a love that now felt like a distant memory. Alone in our bedroom, the weight of Jenna's betrayal pressed down on me like a suffocating blanket. Anger simmered beneath the surface, fueling a determination to not let her betrayal go unanswered. As I paced back and forth, the initial shock began to give way to a cold, calculating resolve. I pulled out my phone and began to meticulously plan my retaliation. First, I needed to gather information. Details about Mark, his habits, his weaknesses. The man who had not only betrayed our friendship, but had also desecrated our home with his infidelity. My fingers flew over the screen, searching for any scrap of information that could aid me in my quest for justice. Social media provided a treasure trove of clues. Pictures of Mark at social gatherings, check-ins at his favorite hangouts, posts about his hobbies and interests. I noted down everything, creating a profile of the man who had wormed his way into my life under false pretenses. Next, I delved deeper into Mark's professional life. LinkedIn proved invaluable, revealing his job title, his employer, and connections within his industry. I made a mental note to exploit this later, perhaps tarnish his reputation where it mattered most. As I scrolled through the information, a plan began to take shape in my mind. It wasn't enough to confront Jenna and Mark directly. No, they needed to suffer consequences, real tangible consequences for their betrayal. I plotted the first move, undermining Mark's career. It was clear he valued his job highly, a position of status and influence in our small community. I would exploit this vulnerability, leaking carefully curated information that would cast doubt on his professionalism and integrity. With a sense of grim satisfaction, I drafted an anonymous email to Mark's employer, carefully outlining fabricated accusations of misconduct. I ensured the trail led back to Jenna, a subtle reminder of the tangled web of deceit they had spun. Sending the email felt like striking the first blow in a battle I'd been thrust into unwillingly. I knew it wouldn't be enough. Jenna and Mark's betrayal ran deeper than mere professional sabotage. But it was a start, a warning shot across their bow. As I hit send, a surge of adrenaline coursed through me. The plan was in motion now, a relentless tide that would sweep away everything they held dear. They had shattered our trust, our love, and now they would pay the price, one calculated move at a time. The days that followed were consumed by a singular focus, executing my meticulously planned revenge against Jenna and Mark. With each passing moment, my anger and determination grew stronger, driving me forward in my quest for justice. I began by cultivating a facade of normalcy. Outwardly, I maintained the appearance of a husband processing his wife's infidelity, seeking solace in friends and family who were unaware of the storm brewing beneath my calm exterior. Privately, however, my mind churned with schemes and strategies to ensnare Mark in his own web of deceit. One evening, armed with the information I had gathered, I made my move. I reached out to Mark under the guise of friendship, a casual invitation to grab a drink and catch up. He accepted eagerly, unaware that every word, every gesture was part of a carefully orchestrated plan. We met at a local bar, the air thick with tension masked by polite conversation. Mark seemed oblivious to my true intentions, his guard down in the presence of what he believed to be a sympathetic friend. As he spoke of work and personal life, I listened intently, probing for vulnerabilities I could exploit. It didn't take long to uncover his insecurities, the pride he took in his professional achievements, the careful balance he maintained between work and personal reputation. I filed away these insights, knowing they would be crucial in the next phase of my retaliation. As the evening wore on, I subtly steered the conversation toward more sensitive topics: his relationship with Jenna, their shared interests, the intricate web of lies they had woven. Mark, unaware of my knowledge, spoke freely, his guard slipping further with each drink. I bided my time, planting seeds of doubt and suspicion, careful not to reveal my true intentions. Behind the facade of camaraderie, I laid the groundwork for the final act of retribution, a revelation that would expose Mark's betrayal to the world. Before parting ways that evening, I ensured Mark left with a false sense of security, a belief that our encounter had strengthened our friendship rather than sealed his fate. I watched him disappear into the night, a pawn in a game he didn't even know he was playing. Returning home, I reviewed my plan with a grim satisfaction. The trap was set, the pieces in motion. Mark's downfall was inevitable now, a consequence of his own actions and my relentless pursuit of justice. As I lay awake that night, the glow of the screen illuminating my face, I knew this was just the beginning. Jenna and Mark had shattered our life together, but I would be the architect of their downfall, one carefully calculated move at a time. The next morning, I woke with a sense of purpose that overshadowed the heaviness in my heart. The time for contemplation had passed. Now was the time for action. With steely resolve, I set my plan into motion, knowing that each step brought me closer to justice for the betrayal that had shattered my world. I started by revisiting the information I had meticulously gathered about Mark, his professional achievements, his reputation within his industry, and most importantly, the vulnerabilities I had identified. Armed with this knowledge, I crafted a carefully worded email designed to strike at the heart of his career. The email was anonymous yet damning, detailing fabricated accusations of misconduct that, if believed, would tarnish Mark's reputation irreparably. I chose my words carefully, ensuring they carried enough weight to prompt an investigation without being overtly suspicious. As I hit send, a rush of adrenaline surged through me. It was a calculated risk, one that could not be undone, but it was necessary. Mark's betrayal had not only violated our trust, but had desecrated the sanctity of our home. He had to face consequences for his actions, consequences that mirrored the devastation he had wrought upon our lives. In the days that followed, I monitored the aftermath of my actions with a mixture of anticipation and grim satisfaction. Rumors began to swirl within Mark's workplace, whispers of allegations that threatened to undermine his hard-earned reputation. I observed from a distance, unseen yet acutely aware of the chaos I had unleashed. True to form, Mark's reaction was predictable yet satisfying. He initially dismissed the accusations as baseless, confident in his innocence and the support of his colleagues. But as the whispers grew louder, as doubts began to cast shadows over his once pristine image, cracks began to appear in his facade. I watched with detached satisfaction as Mark's world began to unravel. Meetings behind closed doors, hushed conversations in corridors, every whisper, every raised eyebrow was a testament to the impact of my revenge. The man who had betrayed my trust, who had defiled our home with his deceit, was now reaping what he had sown. Meanwhile, Jenna remained unaware of my involvement, her attention consumed by the fallout of her own betrayal. Her attempts at reconciliation fell on deaf ears. My heart hardened against the pleas for forgiveness. She had chosen her path, and now she, too, would face the consequences. As the days turned into weeks, I continued to monitor the fallout from my actions with a grim determination. Phase 1 of my revenge had been executed flawlessly, but there was more to be done. Mark's professional downfall was just the beginning, a warning shot across the bow. Jenna and Mark had shattered our life together, but I would be the architect of their downfall, one carefully calculated move at a time. The repercussions of my actions reverberated through Mark's life like a relentless storm. What had begun as a calculated strike to undermine his professional reputation soon escalated into a full-blown crisis that threatened to unravel everything he had built. As rumors of misconduct gained momentum within his workplace, Mark's once impeccable reputation began to unravel thread by thread. Colleagues who had once respected and admired him now whispered behind his back, their trust shaken by the shadow of doubt I had cast. I watched from afar, a silent observer of the chaos I had set in motion. Mark's initial confidence morphed into anxiety and paranoia as the investigation into the accusations intensified. He hired lawyers, issued carefully worded statements denying any wrongdoing, but the damage had been done. The turning point came when evidence surfaced, fabricated, yet compelling enough to warrant further scrutiny. Emails, witnesses, circumstantial evidence, all carefully orchestrated to paint a damning portrait of Mark's alleged misconduct. His protests fell on deaf ears as the company's board of directors, under pressure from the public scrutiny and potential legal liabilities, took decisive action. Mark was suspended pending an internal investigation, a mere formality, as the court of public opinion had already rendered its verdict. News of his suspension spread like wildfire, splashed across headlines and social media feeds. The man who had once commanded respect and admiration was now a pariah, tainted by the stain of scandal. I followed the developments with a mix of satisfaction and detached curiosity. Mark's downfall was not just a punishment for his betrayal of our friendship and trust. It was a warning to others who might consider crossing me in the future. The consequences of his actions had ricocheted beyond his professional life, seeping into every facet of his existence. Meanwhile, Jenna remained on the periphery of my focus. Her attempts at reconciliation met with icy indifference. She had yet to discover the extent of my involvement in Mark's downfall, consumed as she was by the fallout from her own betrayal. Her world had shrunk to a fractured existence of regret and isolation, a fate she had chosen through her own actions. As I reflected on the chaos I had wrought, a sense of grim satisfaction settled over me. Phase 1 of my revenge had achieved its desired outcome. Mark's life lay in ruins, a testament to the consequences of betrayal. But there was more to be done, more layers to unravel in this intricate tapestry of retribution. I continued to watch and wait, knowing that Jenna and Mark's ordeal was far from over. The next phase of my revenge loomed on the horizon, a relentless tide that would sweep away everything they held dear. They had shattered our life together, but I would be the architect of their downfall, one carefully calculated move at a time. With Mark's professional downfall echoing through the community, I turned my attention to the next phase of my meticulously planned revenge, Jenna. Her betrayal cut deeper than I could have imagined, and she would not escape the consequences of her actions unscathed. I began by focusing on Jenna's social circle, the friends and acquaintances who had unknowingly enabled her deceit. Armed with the recordings I had secretly captured of Jenna and Mark's intimate conversations, I set out to expose the truth to those closest to her. One by one, I carefully selected individuals whom I knew Jenna trusted implicitly. I sent each of them an anonymous package, a USB drive containing excerpts of the recordings, accompanied by a cryptic note hinting at the betrayal that had unfolded behind closed doors. The reactions were swift and varied. Some confronted Jenna immediately, demanding explanations for her duplicity. Others distanced themselves, their trust in her shattered beyond repair. The recordings became a catalyst for doubt and suspicion, spreading like wildfire through Jenna's once tight-knit social circle. I watched the chaos unfold from a distance, a silent orchestrator of Jenna's unraveling world. Her attempts to salvage her reputation fell flat in the face of mounting evidence and betrayed confidences. Each revelation was a dagger to her carefully constructed facade of innocence. Meanwhile, Jenna's interactions with me grew increasingly strained. Her pleas for forgiveness fell on deaf ears. My heart hardened against her remorse. She had chosen her path, and now she would face the consequences, one calculated move at a time. As the fallout from Phase 2 intensified, Jenna's isolation deepened. Former friends turned their backs, unwilling to be associated with the scandal that had engulfed her life. Her once vibrant social calendar dwindled to a series of awkward encounters and strained conversations. Yet amidst the chaos, a part of me wrestled with the cost of my revenge. Had I gone too far in my quest for justice? Had my desire for retribution clouded my judgment, blinding me to the humanity behind Jenna's betrayal? The questions lingered, unresolved, as I continued to monitor Jenna's descent into isolation and despair. Phase 2 of my revenge had achieved its desired outcome. Jenna's life lay in ruins, a testament to the consequences of betrayal. But there was more to be done, more layers to unravel in this intricate tapestry of retribution. I remained steadfast in my resolve, knowing that Jenna's ordeal was far from over. The next phase of my revenge loomed on the horizon, a relentless tide that would sweep away everything she held dear. She had shattered our life together, but I would be the architect of her downfall, one carefully calculated move at a time. The aftermath of Jenna's betrayal had left a trail of fractured relationships and shattered reputations in its wake. Phase 2 of my revenge had plunged her deeper into isolation and despair. But there was still a final, decisive move left to make, a move that would expose the truth to a wider audience and ensure Jenna faced the full consequences of her actions. I began by compiling the remaining excerpts of the recordings, the most damning evidence of Jenna and Mark's deceit. These recordings captured not just their intimate conversations, but also their shared moments of laughter and affection, a stark contrast to the facade of innocence Jenna had presented to the world. With meticulous care, I edited the recordings into a cohesive narrative, a narrative that laid bare the extent of Jenna's betrayal and Mark's complicity. I paired the recordings with additional evidence, emails, text messages, and witness accounts that painted a comprehensive picture of their deception. Armed with this damning dossier, I strategized the next phase of my revenge: public exposure. I crafted an anonymous email and distributed it to local media outlets, accompanied by the recordings and evidence. The email detailed the sordid affair, the lies and deceit that had shattered the lives of those involved. The response was immediate and explosive. News outlets scrambled to verify the authenticity of the evidence, but the recordings spoke for themselves. Headlines blared the scandalous details of Jenna and Mark's affair, their faces splashed across front pages and television screens. For Jenna, the public exposure was a crushing blow. Her carefully curated image of a devoted wife and friend crumbled under the weight of undeniable evidence. Former friends and acquaintances distanced themselves, unwilling to be associated with the scandal that had engulfed her life. As the media frenzy intensified, Jenna retreated further into isolation, her attempts at damage control falling flat in the face of overwhelming evidence. She became a pariah in our small community, whispered about in grocery store aisles and coffee shop corners. Yet amidst the chaos, a part of me grappled with the consequences of my actions. Had I gone too far in my quest for justice? The public exposure had exacted a heavy toll on Jenna, but had it also irreparably damaged my own sense of morality and compassion? The questions lingered, unresolved, as I watched Jenna's life unravel in the glare of public scrutiny. Phase 3 of my revenge had achieved its desired outcome. The truth had been exposed, and Jenna faced the consequences of her betrayal. But there was more to be done, more layers to unravel in this intricate tapestry of retribution. I remained resolute in my determination, knowing that Jenna's ordeal was far from over. The final phase of my revenge loomed on the horizon, a relentless tide that would sweep away everything she held dear. She had shattered our life together, but I would be the architect of her downfall, one carefully calculated move at a time. Just when I thought I had orchestrated the final act of Jenna's downfall, she unleashed a countermove that caught me off guard, a move that threatened to upend the delicate balance of retribution I had meticulously crafted. It began with a phone call, one that I answered reluctantly, already bracing myself for Jenna's tearful apologies or desperate pleas for forgiveness. Instead, her voice came through the line with an unexpected edge of determination. "I know what you've been doing," Jenna's voice trembled, but there was a steely resolve beneath the surface. "You think you can destroy me, but you forget that I know you too." I froze, the weight of her words sinking in. How could she know? Had I been too careless in my pursuit of revenge, leaving behind traces of my involvement that she had uncovered? "I've been digging, Mike," she continued, her tone accusing. "I know about the emails to Mark's employer, the anonymous packages to my friends. You've been orchestrating this whole thing behind the scenes, like some kind of puppet master." My heart raced as I struggled to maintain composure. Jenna's countermove had exposed a vulnerability I hadn't anticipated. My own meticulous planning and calculated actions had left a trail that she had followed straight back to me. "What do you want, Jenna?" I managed to choke out, my voice betraying a mix of anger and fear. "I want you to stop," she replied, her voice steadier now. "I want this to end, Mike. We can't keep destroying each other like this." Her words struck a nerve, igniting a fierce internal struggle. Part of me wanted to push forward with my revenge, to see Jenna and Mark suffer the full consequences of their betrayal. But another part, buried beneath layers of anger and hurt, yearned for closure, for an end to the relentless cycle of destruction. "I can't just forgive you, Jenna," I finally said, my voice hoarse with emotion. "You broke my trust. You shattered our life together." "I know," she whispered, the vulnerability in her voice cutting through the distance between us. "I'm sorry, Mike. I never meant for any of this to happen." Silence hung heavy between us, the weight of our shared pain palpable even through the phone line. Jenna's countermove had exposed the cracks in my armor, forcing me to confront the consequences of my own actions. "I need time," I finally said, the words heavy with resignation. "I need time to figure out what comes next." Jenna didn't protest, didn't beg for forgiveness. Instead, she quietly agreed, her voice tinged with regret. "Take all the time you need," she said softly. "But remember, Mike, we were once happy. There's still a chance for us to find our way back to that." With those words lingering in the air, Jenna hung up, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the realization that her countermove had changed everything. Phase 4 of my revenge had been thrown into uncertainty, the delicate balance between justice and forgiveness hanging in the balance. As I stared at the phone in my hand, I knew that the next move was mine to make, a choice that would define the final chapter of our story. Jenna's countermove had exposed our shared humanity, forcing me to confront the complexities of love, betrayal, and the possibility of redemption. Jenna's unexpected countermove had unsettled me deeply, stirring a whirlwind of conflicting emotions within. As days turned into weeks, I grappled with the realization that my pursuit of revenge had exacted a heavy toll on both of us, a toll that threatened to overshadow any semblance of closure I sought. In the quiet moments of solitude, I found myself revisiting memories of our life together, the laughter, the shared dreams, the love that had once bound us. Jenna's plea for reconciliation echoed in my mind, a haunting reminder of the possibility of salvaging what remained of our fractured relationship. Yet, beneath the surface, anger and hurt still festered, the wounds of betrayal raw and unhealed. I couldn't erase the images of Jenna and Mark's infidelity, the shattered trust that had once formed the foundation of our marriage. Forgiveness seemed an insurmountable hurdle, a distant shore beyond the stormy seas of my emotions. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across our empty living room, Jenna appeared unexpectedly at our doorstep. Her presence was a jolt, a reminder of the tangled web of emotions that bound us together despite everything that had transpired. "I needed to see you," Jenna began softly, her voice tentative yet resolute. "I can't keep living like this, Mike. We can't keep hurting each other." I met her gaze, searching for answers in the depths of her eyes. There was no trace of the confident woman who had once betrayed me, only vulnerability and a quiet plea for understanding. "What do you want, Jenna?" I asked, my voice betraying the turmoil within. "I want us to talk," she replied earnestly, taking a hesitant step closer. "I want to understand why this happened, how we got to this point." I hesitated, torn between the desire to lash out in anger and the need to unravel the complexities of our shared history. Jenna's presence stirred memories of a love that had once been pure and unconditional, a love that had been overshadowed by the darkness of betrayal. "I don't know if I can forgive you," I admitted finally, the words heavy with regret. "What you did, it hurt, Jenna. It shattered everything." Tears welled in her eyes as she nodded solemnly, the weight of her actions etched on her face. "I know," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I never meant to hurt you, Mike. I lost sight of what mattered most, and I'm so sorry." Silence settled between us, thick with unspoken words and the ache of broken dreams. The truth of Jenna's remorse was palpable, a stark contrast to the anger and bitterness that had consumed me in the aftermath of her betrayal. "I don't expect you to forgive me," Jenna said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I can't bear the thought of losing you completely. We were happy once, Mike. Can't we try to find our way back to that?" Her words stirred a flicker of hope within me, a fragile hope that perhaps, amidst the wreckage of our marriage, redemption and healing were still possible. But the scars of betrayal ran deep, a constant reminder of the fragile trust we had lost. "I need time," I said finally, the words a reluctant admission of my own uncertainty. "I need to process everything, Jenna. I need to figure out if there's still a future for us." Jenna nodded, her expression a mix of resignation and hope. "I understand," she replied quietly. "Take all the time you need, Mike. I'll wait." With those words hanging in the air, Jenna turned and walked away, leaving me standing alone in the fading light. The final confrontation had left me grappling with a choice between holding on to resentment and embracing the possibility of forgiveness. between seeking closure through revenge and finding healing and reconciliation. As I watched Jenna disappear into the night, a weight lifted from my shoulders, a weight born from the burden of vengeance and the relentless pursuit of justice. The road ahead remained uncertain, fraught with challenges, and the daunting task of rebuilding trust shattered by betrayal. But amidst the uncertainty, a glimmer of hope remained, a hope that perhaps love and forgiveness could prevail over the scars of betrayal. Jenna and I had embarked on a journey fraught with pain and anguish, but whether it led to redemption or further heartache remained to be seen. The story of our lives together had been rewritten by betrayal and revenge, but the final chapter had yet to be written, a chapter that would determine the fate of our love, our marriage, and the possibility of a future reclaimed from the ashes of betrayal. The days stretched into weeks as I grappled with the weight of Jenna's plea for reconciliation. Each moment was a battleground between lingering resentment and the fragile hope of salvaging what remained of our shattered marriage. The wounds of betrayal still gnawed at my heart, but Jenna's presence lingered like a haunting specter, a constant reminder of the love we had once shared. One afternoon, as I sat alone in our empty home, the silence echoed with unanswered questions and unresolved emotions. The familiar sound of the doorbell shattered the stillness, jolting me from my reverie. I hesitated, uncertain whether to answer, uncertain whether I was ready to confront the complexities of our fractured relationship. With a deep breath, I rose from my chair and made my way to the door. Jenna stood on the threshold, her expression a tapestry of apprehension and quiet determination. Her presence stirred a whirlwind of emotions within me, a tumultuous mix of anger, hurt, and a flicker of longing for what we had lost. "I didn't expect to see you," I admitted quietly, my voice betraying the turmoil within. Jenna met my gaze with a steady resolve, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I needed to talk to you," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Can we please talk?" I hesitated, torn between the desire to shut her out and the need to unravel the tangled web of emotions that bound us together. The ache of betrayal still throbbed beneath the surface, a testament to the wounds that had yet to heal. "Come in," I finally replied, stepping aside to let her into our home. Jenna entered cautiously, as if crossing an invisible threshold into uncertain territory. We stood in awkward silence, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavy in the air. "I'm sorry, Mike," Jenna began, her voice wavering with emotion. "I'm sorry for everything, for the pain I've caused, for betraying your trust. I never meant to hurt you." Her words pierced through the walls I had built around my heart, stirring a mix of resentment and reluctant empathy. I struggled to find the right words, grappling with the overwhelming urge to lash out and the flicker of hope that whispered of forgiveness and reconciliation. "Why did you do it, Jenna?" I asked finally, my voice tinged with bitterness. "Why did you betray us?" Jenna's shoulders slumped, the weight of guilt etched on her face. "I don't have an excuse," she admitted quietly. "I lost sight of what mattered most. I let my insecurities and desires cloud my judgment, and I hurt you in the process." Anger surged within me, threatening to drown out the fragile thread of empathy that tugged at my conscience. But Jenna's vulnerability softened the edges of my resentment, inviting a deeper understanding of the complexities that had driven her to betray our marriage. "I can't just forget what happened, Jenna," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "You broke my trust, shattered our life together." Tears streamed down Jenna's cheeks as she nodded, her own grief mirrored in the depths of her eyes. "I know," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I'm so sorry, Mike. I never meant to lose us." Silence enveloped us, heavy with the weight of unspoken regrets and shattered dreams. The room seemed to shrink around us, closing in on the fragile bond that still tethered us together, despite everything that had transpired. "I need time," I finally said, the words a reluctant admission of my own uncertainty. "I need time to process everything, Jenna. I need to figure out if there's still a future for us." Jenna nodded solemnly, her expression a mix of resignation and hope. "I understand," she replied quietly. "Take all the time you need, Mike. I'll wait." With those words hanging in the air, Jenna turned and walked away, leaving me standing alone in the aftermath of our tumultuous encounter. The climax of our story had laid bare the depths of our pain and the fragile hope of redemption. A hope that, Despite the scars of betrayal, love and forgiveness could still prevail. As I watched Jenna disappear into the distance, a sense of clarity began to dawn within me. The road ahead remained uncertain, fraught with challenges, and the daunting task of rebuilding trust, shattered by betrayal. But amidst the uncertainty, a flicker of hope burned, a hope that Jenna and I could find our way back to each other, one tentative step at a time. The climax of our story had brought us to a pivotal crossroads where the choice between holding on to resentment and embracing the possibility of forgiveness would shape the final chapter of our journey. Jenna and I had embarked on a journey fraught with pain and anguish, but whether it led to healing or further heartache remained to be seen. The story of our lives together had been rewritten by betrayal and revenge, but the final chapter had yet to be written, a chapter that would determine the fate of our love, our marriage, and the possibility of a future reclaimed from the ashes of betrayal. While Jenna and I stood at a crossroads, grappling with the aftermath of betrayal and the possibility of reconciliation, Mark's life continued to unravel in the wake of his professional downfall and public exposure. With his suspension from work pending an internal investigation, Mark found himself thrust into a world of uncertainty and scrutiny. News of his alleged misconduct had spread like wildfire through his professional circles, tarnishing the reputation he had spent years building. I followed the developments from a distance, a silent observer of Mark's downward spiral. The consequences of my calculated revenge had exacted a heavy toll on his career and personal life, leaving him isolated and ostracized by those who had once held him in high esteem. Reports of the internal investigation surfaced in the media, detailing allegations of misconduct and ethical breaches that threatened to end Mark's career. He hired lawyers, issued carefully crafted statements denying any wrongdoing, but the damage had been done. As the investigation progressed, I watched with a mix of satisfaction and unease. Mark's downfall had been a necessary consequence of his betrayal, but the human cost weighed heavily on my conscience. Had I gone too far in my pursuit of justice, sacrificing empathy on the altar of vengeance? Meanwhile, whispers of legal action and potential consequences loomed over Mark's future. The prospect of criminal charges and civil lawsuits cast a shadow over his once promising career, a stark reminder of the irreversible consequences of his actions. Yet amidst the chaos, a part of me wrestled with the implications of Mark's downfall. Had my pursuit of revenge truly served justice, or had it perpetuated a cycle of pain and destruction? The questions lingered, unanswered, as Mark's life unraveled before my eyes. Jenna's presence lingered in the back of my mind, a reminder of the fragile hope of reconciliation amidst the wreckage of our marriage. The journey ahead remained fraught with uncertainty, but one thing was certain. The aftermath of betrayal had left its mark on all of us, reshaping the landscape of our lives in ways we could not have imagined. As I reflected on the aftermath of Mark's downfall, a sense of resignation settled over me. Phase 4 of my revenge had achieved its intended outcome. Mark faced the consequences of his betrayal, his life irreversibly altered by the choices he had made. But the road ahead remained uncertain, fraught with challenges and the daunting task of rebuilding trust and navigating the complexities of forgiveness. Jenna and I had embarked on a journey fraught with pain and anguish, but whether it led to healing or further heartache remained to be seen. The story of our lives together had been rewritten by betrayal and revenge, but the final chapter had yet to be written, a chapter that would determine the fate of our love, our marriage, and the possibility of a future reclaimed from the ashes of betrayal. As the days stretched into weeks following our tense encounter, Jenna's desperation became palpable, a haunting echo of the shattered life she had once known. The aftermath of betrayal had left her adrift in a sea of uncertainty, grappling with the consequences of her actions and the uncertain future that lay ahead. Her attempts at reconciliation had met with cold indifference from me. My heart hardened against her pleas for forgiveness. Yet Jenna refused to give up, determined to break through the walls I had erected around my wounded heart. One evening, as the shadows lengthened and the world outside our home grew quiet, Jenna appeared unexpectedly at our doorstep once again. Her presence was a stark reminder of the tangled emotions that bound us together, a reminder of the love that had once defined our marriage. "I need to talk to you, Mike," Jenna began softly, her voice tinged with desperation. "Please, just hear me out." Reluctantly, I opened the door wider, allowing Jenna to step into our home. She moved with hesitant steps, as if navigating a minefield of unresolved emotions and unspoken regrets. The air between us crackled with tension, thick with the weight of unspoken words. "I can't keep living like this," Jenna said finally, her voice trembling with emotion. "I can't bear the thought of losing you, of losing everything we had together." Her words stirred a tumult of conflicting emotions within me: anger, hurt, and a flicker of empathy that threatened to undermine my resolve. Jenna's desperation was a mirror to my own pain, a reminder of the shattered dreams and lost innocence that had once defined our love. "Why did you do it, Jenna?" I asked quietly, the bitterness of betrayal still lingering in my voice. "Why did you betray us?" Tears welled in Jenna's eyes as she struggled to find the right words. "I was lost," she admitted softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I let my insecurities and fears cloud my judgment. I made a terrible mistake, and I regret it every day." Silence settled between us, heavy with the weight of unspoken regrets and shattered dreams. Jenna's vulnerability touched a chord within me, stirring a mix of anger and reluctant understanding. The ache of betrayal still gnawed at my heart, but beneath the anger, a flicker of hope burned, a hope that perhaps forgiveness and reconciliation were still possible. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Jenna," I said finally, my voice thick with emotion. "You broke my trust, shattered everything we had." Jenna nodded solemnly, her expression etched with sorrow. "I know," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'm so sorry, Mike. I never meant to hurt you." The raw honesty in Jenna's words pierced through the walls I had built around my heart, softening the edges of my resentment. Despite everything, I couldn't deny the love that had once bound us together, the love that had been overshadowed by betrayal and pain. "I need time," I said quietly, the words a reluctant admission of my own uncertainty. "I need time to heal, Jenna. I need to figure out if there's still a future for us." Jenna nodded, her shoulders slumping with resignation. "I understand," she replied softly. "Take all the time you need, Mike. I'll wait." With those words hanging in the air, Jenna turned and walked away, leaving me standing alone in the wake of our emotional exchange. Her desperation had laid bare the depth of her regret and the fragile hope of redemption, a hope that, amidst the wreckage of our marriage, love and forgiveness could still prevail. As I watched Jenna disappear into the night, a sense of clarity began to dawn within me. The road ahead remained uncertain, fraught with challenges, and the daunting task of rebuilding trust shattered by betrayal. But amidst the uncertainty, a flicker of hope burned, a hope that Jenna and I could find our way back to each other, one tentative step at a time. The story of our lives together had been rewritten by betrayal and revenge, but the final chapter had yet to be written, a chapter that would determine the fate of our love, our marriage, and the possibility of a future reclaimed from the ashes of betrayal. In the aftermath of Jenna's desperate plea and our emotional exchange, a fragile peace settled over our once tumultuous relationship. Days turned into weeks as Jenna and I navigated the delicate terrain of forgiveness, healing, and the possibility of rebuilding what had been shattered by betrayal. We started with tentative conversations, awkward at first, tinged with lingering resentment and unspoken regrets. Jenna's remorse was palpable, her every word and gesture a testament to the depth of her regret and determination to make amends. "I'm here for you, Mike," Jenna said softly one evening, breaking the silence that had hung between us like a heavy veil. "I want to make things right, to earn back your trust." Her words stirred a mix of emotions within me, reluctant hope, lingering doubt, and a yearning for closure that had eluded us in the aftermath of betrayal. I struggled to reconcile the pain of Jenna's betrayal with the flicker of empathy that tugged at my heart. "I want to believe you, Jenna," I admitted finally, my voice tinged with vulnerability. "But trust is not something that can be easily regained. It's going to take time." Jenna nodded solemnly, her expression a mix of determination and uncertainty. "I understand," she replied quietly. "I'll do whatever it takes, Mike. I'll prove to you that I'm committed to making things right." And so, we embarked on a journey of healing and reconciliation, a journey fraught with challenges and the daunting task of rebuilding trust shattered by betrayal. Jenna's efforts were relentless. She attended counseling sessions, poured her heart into rebuilding our fractured relationship, and faced the consequences of her actions with humility and grace. Slowly, the walls I had erected around my wounded heart began to crumble, softened by Jenna's unwavering determination and genuine remorse. We navigated the complexities of forgiveness and the scars of betrayal with patience and understanding, each step forward a testament to our shared commitment to a future reclaimed from the ashes of our shattered marriage. As weeks turned into months, Jenna and I found ourselves rediscovering the love that had once bound us together, the laughter, the shared dreams, and the quiet moments of intimacy that had been overshadowed by the darkness of betrayal. The wounds of the past still lingered, but they no longer defined our future. "I love you, Mike," Jenna said one evening, her voice tinged with emotion as we sat together on the porch of our home. "I'm so grateful for this second chance, for the opportunity to rebuild what we lost." Her words touched a chord within me, a reminder of the resilience of love and the possibility of redemption amidst the wreckage of our past. I looked into Jenna's eyes, seeing the reflection of my own hopes and fears mirrored back at me. "I love you too, Jenna," I replied softly, my voice filled with a mix of gratitude and vulnerability. "Let's take this journey together, one day at a time." And so, Jenna and I embarked on a new chapter of our lives together, a chapter defined not by the betrayal and revenge that had threatened to tear us apart, but by the hard-earned lessons of forgiveness, resilience, and the enduring power of love. The road ahead remained uncertain, with challenges and obstacles yet to be overcome. But as we faced the future hand in hand, I knew that together we had found our resolution. A resolution forged in the fire of betrayal and tempered by the healing power of forgiveness. The story of our lives together had been rewritten once more, not by the scars of betrayal, but by the hope and possibility of a future reclaimed from the ashes of our shattered marriage. As months passed and Jenna and I navigated the tumultuous waters of reconciliation, a sense of closure began to settle over our once fragile relationship. The wounds of betrayal had not disappeared entirely, but they no longer defined our future together. Instead, we had forged a new path, a path marked by forgiveness, resilience, and the unwavering commitment to rebuild what had been shattered. We attended counseling sessions together, delving into the deep-rooted issues that had contributed to the breakdown of our marriage. Communication became our lifeline, as we learned to listen to each other's fears, insecurities, and hopes for the future. Through tears and laughter, we uncovered layers of understanding and empathy that had eluded us in the aftermath of betrayal. "I'm proud of us," Jenna said one evening, her voice filled with quiet determination as we sat together by the fireplace. "We've come so far, Mike." I nodded, my heart swelling with gratitude for the second chance we had been given. "It hasn't been easy," I admitted, my voice tinged with vulnerability. "But it's worth it. We're worth it." And so we continued to rebuild our life together, a life shaped not only by the scars of betrayal, but by the hard-earned lessons of forgiveness and the resilience of love. Jenna's dedication to our reconciliation never wavered, her every action a testament to the depth of her remorse and commitment to earning back my trust. Weekends were spent exploring new places and rediscovering old passions, laughter echoing through the halls of our home once more. We celebrated milestones, big and small, with a renewed sense of gratitude for the second chance we had been given. As time passed, the wounds of the past began to heal, leaving behind scars that served as a reminder of our journey, a journey marked by pain, forgiveness, and the enduring power of love. The specter of betrayal no longer loomed over us like a dark cloud, replaced instead by the quiet strength of our renewed bond. "I love you," Jenna said one evening, her eyes filled with unshed tears as we stood together beneath the stars. "I love you too," I replied, my voice steady with certainty. "Thank you for never giving up on us." And with those words, I knew that we had found our closure, a closure forged in the fire of betrayal and tempered by the healing power of forgiveness. We had faced our demons, confronted our fears, and emerged stronger than before, united in our commitment to building a future filled with hope, love, and the promise of a life reclaimed from the ashes of our shattered marriage. The story of our lives together had been rewritten once more, not by the scars of betrayal, but by the resilience of forgiveness and the enduring strength of our love. As we embraced the future hand in hand, I knew that together, we had found our happy ending, a testament to the power of redemption and the possibility of second chances.